World Crashy. What are you spending?
And we're live. How's it going, everyone? It is Tuesday, October 27th, and I am Vincent Ippolito. I am sitting here in my studio called Swift Road Studios, and I am here to answer all of your audio, video, and music related questions. Well, we're gonna maybe not every single one of them, but we'll do our very best. That is what we're here for tonight. Getting a couple things set up, just making sure that all of our audio and video is actually running properly. Things are looking pretty solid. How's it going, Naya? I'm glad to see that I'm on your feed. It means that Facebook is actually promoting the video properly, the stream. Jason Dellisman, mixing tips. Hope I'm staying safe. I am trying to stay safe. I've got my mask right here for whenever clients are coming in. I'm still not going out that much. I mean, I hardly ever go out anyway. I'm mostly here doing things. And also, I'm going to adjust this a little bit. I'm mostly here doing stuff anyway, so I don't have to worry about a whole lot of, like contracting things from outside people very much. How's it going, Brendan? Hey, man, I really need to get back to you. It has been an absolutely insane, 12 days, like just nonstop work. So I'm going to get back to you tonight. I promise you. I'm going to call you probably as soon as the stream is done. At the Source Studios, I'm on your feed too. Good deal. Good deal. I'm glad to see that I'm on the YouTube feed. Things are coming through. So, looks like we got a few people on Facebook. We've got a couple of people on YouTube. And I don't see anyone on Twitch yet, but hopefully some friends on Twitch are going to join us. But we do already have one question coming in from Jason. Mixing tips. Jason, tell me a little bit more. What are you what are you mixing? What are you working on? There are a couple things that I've been working on here at the studio that I'm pretty excited about. One of them being the fact that I've been working more and more with the capture cards that we have, and getting things to run smoothly between running multiple capture cards, getting multiple HDMI streams into OBS, and then getting them out into the world for you to consume and watch. Obviously, here doing this stream, it doesn't matter as much that I get 2 or more cameras, but we have an entire live room out there that is able to host an entire band. So I'm working really hard to make sure that that's a reality that we can put out there for you guys, things that you can come in here and do to, you know, get your music out there more, since venues are not open and things aren't as, you know, conducive for playing music as they used to be in a live setting. So we're working on live streaming for bands. That's basically my goal this week, is to really start ironing those things out. All right, so Jason chimed in with a little bit more info. Getting vocals to sit right, affordable mic preamps as well as bud. Oh, cool. So looking for good mic preamps, and then also how to get the vocals to sit right. Well, there are a number of really nice affordable mic preamps out there. Depending on the kind of mic that you're using, you may, or like, and I mean, to be fully transparent with you, a lot of fantastic music these days is simply being recorded with some kind of like budget level large diaphragm condenser, and something like a Rode NT1A, or like a Warm Audio FET47, or an SE Electronics SE2200A. Any of those things going into even something as just like a Focusrite like couple channel interface. Those preamps on those interfaces, especially if they're not USB powered, are pretty solid. But I have to say that the absolute my absolute favorite like entry level preamp that gives you a lot of options under $1,000 has to be the Warm Audio Tone Beast. I don't have any kind of sponsorship or anything like that, but I definitely have used it before in one of my friend's studios, Jake Kramer, and then also at a couple other places in the tone, a number of tone options on it, and the way that it saturates the transformer. So it is a discrete transformer based preamp, similar to your run-of-the-mill 1073, something like that. It's basically it's mostly based off of that. Let's see if you have an AKG P220. Hey, so the AKG Perception series is pretty good. I've seen and heard a couple of things about the 100 series that I didn't like so much, but that 220 that you're talking about has a really, really good sound to it. And if you're clever enough with EQ and compression, you can get some great sounds out of it, especially with a fantastic performance. I'm going to drop a link for you really quick to a Warm Audio Tone Beast. I actually just suggested this to my friend who's opening up his own studio in over in Elgin, and he was pretty stoked at the idea of this thing. I'm gonna reply to you specifically. And then how to get the vocals right, how to get the vocals to sit right in a mix. So what kind of music are you doing, Jason? I'm sorry that I'm not super familiar with what you're up to. Let me take a look at your profile a little bit and see what I can see here. Oh, you're in Frontline, dude. Killer band. I like your sound a lot. I dig it. So you are doing a fair amount of like heavy rock vocals, little bit harsher kind of yells and screams, but mostly like heavy clean singing, right? So there are a lot of things that we do to like make way in a mix that has like banging drums and just like those god tone guitars and stuff like that. Takes up a lot of space, and you got to carve out some of that space with things like EQ, things like sidechain band compression, with things like the FabFilter. What is it? I believe it's the D6, the dynamic EQ, also the Waves C6 C6 sidechain. Both of those are multi-band compressors that allow you to sidechain in something else while you're affecting whatever bus it's on. So in this case, really good way, like after you've maybe filtered out some frequencies in your guitars, made sure that things are panned out wide enough. And if you're still having trouble feeding the vocals in because the mix is too dense, you can utilize one of these sidechain multiband compressors to you put something like I'm gonna use the Waves C6 multiband as my reference here because that's what I personally use, and you'll put that on your guitar bus, and you can select to sidechain in an input, and you'll link your vocal bus or at the very least your lead vocal bus right to that, like into that sidechain. So then the multiband compressor is going to be reading the vocals, but it will be affecting the electric guitars that you're on. And then from there, you're actually going to have the ability to basically duck out some of that more like 800 to maybe 12 or 13k 12 or 1300k, like 1.2 1.3k, and you'll actually be able to duck those, just that frequency band down. Sorry, I'm just getting into my mode here. I'm not totally in my speaking voice yet. But what that'll do is whenever the vocals come in, and you're not trying to get a lot of compression on those bands, you're mostly trying to get compression on like up to like 3 or 4, maybe 5 dB if you're feeling like pretty froggy about it, and you'll end up just making a little extra room for the vocals when they're in, and then what'll happen is you'll like those vocals will stand out a little bit more, and then when they come back, and then when they're down in the mix, when they're actually like out and you only have instrumental, then the guitars go back to sounding exactly like normal. Now the one of the even better ways to do this is just to kind of like, if you don't have to have the most dense mix all the time with all the instruments and all the vocals, is riders on the on your bus levels. So when the vocals are in, like for a verse or a big chorus or something like that, you can ride the automation, the volume automation of your guitars, just so that they end up just so that they end up, you know, like ducking out a little bit when the vocals are in, and you're doing that manually. And if you write that automation in, then it'll automatically read it as the track is playing. So yeah, there's a lot of ways to make room for vocals in a mix, and I hope that helped you out a little bit. So here's actually I'm gonna get to a question over on YouTube from our friend Ray, but Josh Anderson had a good point to bring up. He said, make sure that the interface has true line-ins for an external preamp. Now, well, while it is true that having those dedicated line inputs does allow for, you know, maybe a slightly more pure signal, I would venture to say that those on most preamps are going to get the job done in 99.9% of cases. The worst case scenario is if you have an older microphone that doesn't, something like a Coles 4038, or like I'm thinking of ribbon mics, or like a Royer R121, which is not an older microphone, but still, you know, like a lower output microphone that needs a lot of power from a preamp. So you have to use, you know, a lot more gain on your preamp, and you're already working at a little bit of a disadvantage there. At that point, yeah, the combi jacks may pose somewhat of a threat to your signal power, but for the most part, they're going to do the job for most people, especially if you have an AKG per setting like a Tone Beast. You've got all the gain in the world that you need there. So that combi jack is going to be perfectly fine as long as you're running that line output from the preamp, going line input with a TRS cable into that front end. Also making sure that you're not plugging into a combi jack that actually has high Z listed on it, because then if you plug in 1/4 inch with that TRS jack, that high Z input is actually going to take over, and I'm pretty sure it's going to read it as a guitar signal. So usually you got to go to like channel 2 on the size of your interface. I'm going to move over to a question from Ray on, oh, wait, at the Source Studios get something with impedance adjustment. I'm not totally sure what that, oh, was that in relation to what kind of preamp? That is valid, but it also depends on the kind of microphone. Most people don't have microphones that require an impedance adjustment. Like I said, like that AKG, Perception series. You're going to do just fine with the stock bias that's going to be within most commercially available preamps. But that is a good point. If you're working with much higher quality microphones, more professional quality, things like that, then you're actually going to find that it's going to work out pretty well. I'm going to exit studio mode there. All right. By the way, I saw someone say something that the frame rate is glitchy. I think it may be because I was running OBS in studio mode, which seems to tax my video card a little harder. So let me know if things are still glitchy on the video. If not, then it may even just be an internet thing. Because everything seems to be running smooth on my system, and I'm really sorry about that. But Ray over on YouTube, I just tried the Friedman technique. Let me try that again. I just tried the Friedman technique on high gain guitar, and I love it. I used to do a 57 and 421 combo. What are you using when multi-miking high gain guitars? So yeah, so the Friedman technique, when you say that you did the Friedman technique, you're talking about the 257s, not that you used the 57 and 421 as your Friedman, right? I'm going to assume that, because as far as I know, the Friedman is only using the 57s. So, yeah, the Friedman technique is super cool. If y'all haven't heard of it, actually, give me 1 second. took a run out to my live room to grab a couple things to demonstrate what we're talking about here, because technique is a lot of fun, especially if you've got like heavier like death metal guitars, which are more rhythmic, and you don't necessarily need all of that like mid-range information. Let's see here. So what I have in my hand is a clip by a company called Wilkinson Audio. Pretty sweet little, it looks like it was some kind of, what do you call it? Like the plastic printers. Pretty durable too. It's got a hard feel to it. And what you do is you take two SM57s and you mount them into the clip like so. And you can do this without this clip too. It's not fully necessary to have it, but what you end up with is something like this, where you have two 57s pointed at a 60-degree angle. I believe it's 60. It looks about, it's not quite 45. And you've got them pointed at this angle, and you put them, if I'm going to use something here, let's say that this is a speaker. You're going to put them on like so that one of them is fully on axis with the speaker, and then the other one right here is off axis. And then you take these two microphones, you combine them into a small consumer quality mixer. Like literally with this technique, you are supposed to use a cheap mixer, like those little Mackies. I think also Harbinger. That whole idea that you can plug like just two microphones into this one little mixer, and then you make the blend on the mixer, and singular sound of both microphones combined from the mixer. So you got two mics, but you're only using one input, and you send that sound into your DAC, and that's your guitar sound. There's a bit of commitment that goes into that. You have to like find the blend. One of the microphones is a bright mic, one of them is a dark mic, not by nature but by their positioning. And then you take it and continue to like, you get this just god tone, like especially if you like have like both guitars like double tracked like that, and it's pretty cool. I've used it a bit, but for the most part, whenever I'm personally doing multi-microphone setup, I usually like to use not an SM57, but I've been really excited about the Beta 57 ever since I got it. I love it on snare drum. I love it on vocals. Although this SM7B like generally beats out the Beta 57 on vocals, but I also really like it on guitar cab. It has a little bit less nastiness that you have to filter out from an SM. And also it feels tighter. I see people who like drape blankets and things like over their cabs and their rigs, and they end up putting microphones on the cab, and they're trying to like isolate the sound a bit and stuff and just make it tighter so that no room sound gets into that, no slapback. Well, the Beta 57 by nature doesn't have a cardioid pattern. It has a hypercardioid, so it's more like it picks up. I'll use this to demonstrate. Instead of picking up in this kind of way where it like picks up a little bit from the sides here in this shape and then rejects what's behind it, the Beta 57 picks up much more straight along what's in front and to the side of it, and then it has a tiny amount of pickup that runs right behind it, which sounds like, you know, kind of a weird thing, but you end up getting a much tighter sound, closer sound, a little bit more tension in that sound because it's more like focused. And then all you have to do is baffle directly behind it, and then you achieve that more god tier sound. So I really like the Beta 57. It sounds a little bit cleaner, maybe a little bit more present. But then what I'll pair with that is some kind of small diaphragm at the studio. But I really like the sound, like it's kind of like a woody, woolly sound out of the Octava MK012s, which is a pretty famous pencil condenser. other ones that you can use. I also tend to like swap them out interchangeably with my SE Electronics SE4s, which are a KM184 type voice, small diaphragm condenser. So those maybe have a little bit brighter, a little more, open sound than the Octavas. But that Beta 57 with the Octava just kind of gives this like claustrophobia, like just molten sound, and it's pretty cool. And usually I'm flying the Beta 57 like all the way up, and then I'm just kind of feeding in the condenser as needed. Uh-oh. All right, so we hit our 30-minute mark on the camera. For whatever reason, I'm sorry, I still can't figure that out. Maybe I need to try another Magic Lantern build, but it's kind of, yeah, it's a thing. Sorry about that. But yeah, so I like using the Beta 57 just at full chooch, and then just kind of feeding in the condenser mic as needed to just kind of fill out the sound. Phase is super important with that whenever you're working with multiple microphones, especially in high gain, because it can really sound like a bit strange, in hollow if you're not paying attention to your phase. But yeah, the 57 and 421 combo, classic combo. Andrew Sheps talks about how he's got like an SM57 and a 421 just like permanently taped at his studio, like taped together in perfect phase, so that no matter like what cabinet he's on, he can just mount it up and just shove it like right in the center of a dust cap. And that's how Andrew Sheps gets a lot of his guitar tones, which is really cool. And I do like to do that sometimes too, if I know that we can go for that. But yeah, I think the most important thing when you're doing double miking with guitar cabs is that you take any microphone, any combination of microphones that you have, and put them in different positions on the speaker. And you have to be willing to be creative and move them around, try them in different positions, try them at different levels, but always making sure that every microphone on that cabinet is in as proper a phase as you can possibly do. Let's see here. Josh Anderson said the PreSonus Studio channel or the ART MPA. Man, ART and those more like super like ultra budget friendly preamps by PreSonus and stuff, you're gonna have a hard time like finding anything that is like really wrong with any of them, because they're all pretty well made for the price, but they also don't offer a whole lot extra over just plugging straight into your interface and running some kind of chain in your DAW. That being said, if you already have one, I would say like go ahead and use it and try it. But if you're trying to choose between some preamps that are like $400 and below, it's so much more worth it to just like save up a couple extra $100, maybe find some gear around your studio that you're not using anymore, and just bump yourself up at least into the warm audio price point. Because like I would venture to say that you can, like for $300 to $400, you can find yourself some used warm audio preamps like here and there. They don't pop up often, but just talking about like as like entry level, like pretty well designed professional quality preamps. I do personally have a ART Tube MP here that we did a little modification to a couple years ago. Like we did a bias mod on it, as well as like putting a vintage GE tube in it from the 40s, a 12 AT7. But honestly, it's tough because like I use that as like an auxiliary. Like sometimes I'll put a pencil condenser onto a snare drum along with the Beta 57, and then I'll push the limiter in on that Tube MP, and then it just gives this like almost like parallel compression type thing as you feed that microphone into the snare bus, so that You know, you get a little bit more of that. So it's kind of, you know, it's tough to say that there's not utility there, but I wouldn't go out and buy one of those preamps new. I would save up just a little bit more and get something a little bit better, and you'll find yourself like way happier. All right, so I see some people saying that it's a little framey. I hope it's got to be my internet connection. Maybe I can like. I've been having a little bit of trouble with my Wi-Fi lately, so I would imagine that like getting something like an Ethernet cable to connect directly to my modem or my router would be a better way to go for this. So yeah, I'll work on the frame rate issues over the next couple of days, guys. Thanks for the feedback. I really appreciate it. I'm trying to make sure that this is like super stable, so this is a great test. Let's see here. I believe the next question came from Joey Mirabelli, who is in the most amazing band in Chicago. I don't know if you heard of them, Superkick, but we got one of the Superkick boys in here. He says, I'm obsessed with a Dano short scale bass. Do you think it's worth it, or should I roll with a full scale? Around $600 budget. Man, so I remember when Mike, Superkick's like lead vocalist and main guitarist, ended up getting that short scale Japanese bass, and I can't remember what it was. I think it was an Aria or something like that. But that thing just has such a specific sound to it that I don't think I've heard from like any bass in my house. And it's tough to say that like, you know, that you can compare a short scale 3/4 bass or a 5/8 bass versus a full scale, you know, something with like 34-inch scale bass, because that short scale is just going to have such a woolliness to the mid range. You're going to lose out a little bit on string tension and a little bit on like that trueness of the low notes and the fundamentals. They're going to be a little bit murkier than something like, you know, like a 34-inch P bass, or, you know, even something that's longer scale, you know, that gives you all that like, you know, like trueness on the low end fundamental. But that being said, you don't always need all that low end fundamental, right? What you end up with is something, you know, that sounds a little bit more unique in the mix, and it's definitely not close to a guitar like tuned down, but it's just a little different than yeah. I would say that if you're really into that short scale feel, the short scale sound is not something that can be replaced. You can get more comfortable basses out there that are full scale or long scale, but you cannot replace that sound of a short scale. If that's what you're digging, if you think that's working in your band's mix, I would say 1000% go for that. I believe the next question came in from Scott Agner. Oh, no, just a comment. Just got the Fredman clip a couple weeks ago. Dude, ain't it cool? I mean, like literally, it's so sweet. Like it does exactly what it's supposed to do. It snaps into place. You know, like you kind of can't mess it up. You know, like it's a fantastic little device, and I think these things are only like, I don't know. I think one of my friends gave me this, but I think these things are like $10 to $20 or something like that, but at the same time, if you're trying to do that actual Fredman technique, it just makes the entire process so much more precise, way easier. At the Source Studios on YouTube says, what are your thoughts on Glenn? LOL. I think you're talking about Glenn Fricker. All right. So, hot take. I have unsubscribed from Glenn on YouTube. Glenn is canceled. Not really. I'm totally kidding. Clearly like a super knowledgeable guy, and I met him at NAMM 2018, and I've talked to him on, like, I've interacted with him on social media and stuff, and like we've commented on each other's stuff here and there. But honestly, like, the guy is super cool. it was just a bit hard for me to like. I know that the person that he's playing on stream and in video is very much a character, like like not even a character as much of a caricature of just like the pissed off old guy producer, you know. That's kind of like what they, you know, like it's kind of a meme in, you know, and studio producers, you know, like we're just like basement, like grumpy old basement dwellers. And there is some freaking truth to that, myself included, couple of my friends. But at the same time, Glenn has a wealth of knowledge that he is sharing with a lot of young engineers, young musicians on YouTube, and the man is clearly doing a fantastic job at it. Because is he at 1 million subs yet? Let me see this. Glenn Fricker YouTube. Oh yeah, actually I think he's under Spectre Sound Studios. All right, so he's not at 1 million subs, but like being a small recording studio in Canada, the guy has almost 400,000 subscribers, and I would venture to say that he's getting over 1 million clicks a month. So like the guy is doing a great job. He's got a lot of great knowledge out there. But you know, also I think it's great the things that he does to try and encourage people to really perform their music rather than to just, you know, use editing as a crutch, to use things like drum samples as a crutch. Like I personally do like the idea of using drum samples. I opposed it for so long for literally no good reason. But the man, you know, really pushes his artists that he works with to perform their music and to do it properly and to do it with heart and soul. So I have to love him for that, because very few people have the courage to do that these days. So yeah, Glenn Fricker, awesome dude. I do watch some of his videos here and there still. Let's see here. Oh yeah, I'm on Restream right now, and things are looking weird. I can see that I can see that I'm only getting like 3 frames per second right now, which is really strange. It's got to be my internet connection, guys. Let me see what I can do. Let me see if I can just like exit everything and anything that might be using my internet connection here. Oh yeah, OBS is telling me that my transfer rate is really bad. Internet usage must be through the roof today. Well, we do only have 20 minutes left, so if things are still coming through clear enough on the audio side, then I'd like to keep this going and not disconnect and try to reconnect again, unless it's just gonna be really continue being weird. This stream I may have to end up re-uploading to everything so that y'all can still actually like hear and see the things that I'm doing, because I know that the recording of this one is going to be good, but for whatever reason my internet is not working with me today. Audio is great. Good. Thanks for letting me know. Questions? Oh, we got a few people here liking the stream. Thank you so much for liking the stream, guys. If you like that I'm doing this, please give the stream a like or a love or a hug. Give it a share if you feel really strongly about me doing this stuff, because I'm really happy to be here for you guys and give you as much information as I can. I like being out here so that y'all can pick my brain and stuff. So just let me know that you're into this so that like I know that I should keep going with it. I'm probably going to keep going with it anyway, but even still, I want to make sure that y'all are getting what you want, because at the end of the day, this is for you guys. I think I might have answered this in the first. Okay, so we got a question from Ray on YouTube. I think you might have answered this in the first stream, but who do you think is just killing it in terms of production of metal or heavy music? Okay, so man, there are a lot of people out there that I'm really enjoying their mixes lately. Well, not lately. I hate to say that I haven't been listening to as much metal the past like month or so as I've wanted to, except for black metal. But black metal production, we're not going to talk about that. That's a whole other thing. So, but there are a couple of guys that I'm really into lately, the sound of their mixes. One of them is Will Putney. Man, the dude just knows how to take sound and just make it like jump out of the speakers like right in your face, and I love it. I love the intensity of the things that he's doing. It's it's almost like a hyper realistic comic book drawing of something in real life, but like in a metal mix, and it's so cool. You know, it's a lot of it is heavily augmented, obviously, but like I feel like there's a lot that can be taken from the boom that the man adds to things, and also just brings out, not just adding, but also just the boom that he brings out in a mix. Another person that I've always enjoyed his production is oh my gosh, sorry, my brain is dying right now. The guy from Audio Hammer. I have to look this up. I have to Google this. Audio Hammer Studios producer Mark Lewis, Jason Sukoff. So Jason Sukoff is another guy, if we're talking about like heavy music, that like, I mean, especially on drums, man, like hearing Jason Sukoff's drums like that he records at Audio Hammer is just like so good. Like knows how to make the earth fucking split open, man. You know what I'm talking about? And I absolutely love it. Hell yeah, Will Putney and Nolly for me, bro. Nolly, I mean, like I felt like he was kind of like an obvious, but like maybe not. Maybe he's just like always the first person on my brain. I wanted to like give someone else. I'm always talking about Nolly, but yeah, Nolly Get Good, formerly of Periphery. Although I think he's still doing studio bass for Periphery. He's still very much like ingrained with the band, but it's very, very different relationship now. But yeah, Nolly Get Good from Periphery, like I think is just, yeah, the dude knows is so knowledgeable about all kinds of music, all kinds of things regarding audio, regarding DAWs, regarding sounds. He knows how to get the sound at the source like so well. I don't know if anyone has done what was it, the that studio pass that he did with Creative Live. I bought that for their production on Juggernaut, and he went like him and Matt Halpern, the drummer, went through like every step in the entire process of like from like picking drums and picking a studio and picking mics and setting them up, all the way through editing, recording guitars, editing everything, mixing things, like the most in-depth stuff. And like that blew my doors off. And then on top of that, being able to like just what was it? I can't remember. I think it was Periphery 4, the Hail Stan record. Just listen to track 1. Just listen to it right off the bat, you know, like that, just like that insanity, like that controlled chaos. Like, I don't know that anyone else is doing it better than him, like in that like super chaotic metal way. Yeah, fantastic stuff, dude. Nolly is God. Nolly is our Lord. It's making me want to listen to some Periphery right now. I am hoping to put some of these little clips of questions and things up on YouTube and stuff. So I don't want to necessarily have like music that can get DMCA'd on me, but like, oh man, if I could jam some Hail Stan right now, I definitely would. Also, yeah, like another thing that I am trying to figure out for these streams is how to integrate my desktop audio into OBS in conjunction with my DAW audio. Seems to be a little bit of a challenge that we have just by the nature of like running Mac and also having to use these third-party apps like Black Hole and Soundflower and things like that. Yeah, trying to figure that out, trying to see if there's a workaround for it. Still trying to figure out if I can like free up a little bit more bandwidth somehow. Because I can see that my OBS has like a little light indicator for how good your internet connection is and your broadcast connection, and it's still just oscillating between dark orange and red, which I know is not a good sign. And Facebook has like little circle around my stream. RTMP settings. Let me check a couple things in OBS. Let's see what I can do here, guys. This is a bit of a learning experience, but output scale resolution. Okay, I'm going to try something really quick. Just give me a moment. Let me see if I can fix this. Oh man, it is still in the red. Well, hopefully on Thursday we don't have such a problem with the internet connection. I'm not exactly sure why things are so bad today. Maybe a lot of people are out there using the internet. Not sure. But we got about 10 minutes left in the stream, and I think I don't know. Maybe you guys can let me know how you feel about this, but I'd like to maybe start talking about some topics in between when we don't have so many questions and things like that. I am here, obviously, primarily, as I've been saying, to answer your questions about things, but I would really like to maybe see what kinds of questions y'all might have like over a couple of days. And then I can kind of walk in here and have some questions that are ready to go for these moments that we don't have so many questions in chat. But then as people like come into chat and ask questions, I can just default right to you guys like that are like doing it live with us. But then if we have something like this where there's not too many questions, then I can just kind of pick up some of that stuff. So I think over this next week, like obviously the next time I'm going to stream is on Thursday night at 6 p.m. But from there, basically going to figure out if you guys have any questions over the next like 24, 48 hours. But like over the weekend and before next Tuesday, I think I'll probably put out like a big Q&A on like Facebook and Instagram, to see if any of you have questions that I can answer on stream and just have some prepared things. I think it'll just help these lulls a little bit, at least until we get syndicated and, you know, get like primetime spot, you know, on like NBC or something like that. Then, you know, maybe the questions will come in a little bit faster. Oh man. OBS says that my internet connection is basically just hanging in the red. And I see that Facebook is still dropping. Uh-oh. Restream is telling me that my stream is unstable. It's telling me that a couple things are offline and other online. They're kind of oscillating. We may end a little early today because of this connection issue. I'll try and iron it out for next time. But let's see here. Is there anything else that I can do for this? Yeah, we are getting pretty significant packet loss. It looks like... Wow, that's a lot of packet loss. That's like 15 to 20%. Wow, and then it dips to like 80% packet loss. This is... it's a little discerning. Or a little disconcerting, rather. I think I'm gonna try using an Ethernet cable for Thursday. I think that's gonna. I think that could drastically help the situation. All right, looks like the YouTube event is down. Seems to be oscillating too. All right, we may have to end early. I'm really sorry about this. I think like OBS is telling me that my internet connection is just straight in the red right now. Restream is telling me that I'm streaming at 1 to 2 frames per second. So, all right. Well, I'll do my closing. Everyone, I'm gonna have to end the stream here, but thank you so much for tuning in right now. Oh, we did get a couple of questions in from YouTube. Let's see here. What is my favorite condenser mic? Well, you know what? I'll answer this as long as you guys can hear and see what I'm saying. I'll try to answer one of these questions. I'll do a quick one. All right, here's an easy one. Here's an easy one to talk about right here. At the Source, thank you so much for like the amazing conversations. Our friends at the Source Studios on YouTube. This guy is just like always coming at me with the good ones. And I love it, dude. Like, never change. Yeah, okay, so you hear me, the video is kind of slow. Okay, good. Okay, I'm gonna answer this question really quick, and then I gotta get off because I do have a 7 o'clock that's coming in here, and I don't want to interrupt the stream. But on vocals, limiting into... Oh. All right. So we're back for the moment. On vocals, limiting into compression or compression into limiting. All right. With vocals, you always start with scaled compression. Layer your compressors on top of each other. Use a really super transparent compressor, something just totally stock, and just have that like you start with some de-essing, and then after that have a nice compressor that's just shaving off like 1 to 3 dB. Not much, right? You just want to control it just enough so that it's and you want a really hyper clean digital compressor. I'm talking about in your DAW, something that's super fast, super transparent. Then after that, you can go for some of the more goopy, gummy sounding analog compressors, things like 1176s and LA2As, things that honestly, like, you know, color the sound a bit more, things that when you drop more sound. And I'll tell you my personal vocal rig, which is, like I said, a bit of de-essing first. I'll use the stock Cubase compressor on a chain because, like I said, super transparent, super fast, just doing very little work. And then I'll go into either an 1176 or an API 2500, and I really like just kind of hammering the vocals at that point, especially if we're talking about any kind of like modern or like, you know, slightly aggressive music. You need that super upfront sound, right? So I'll probably shave like anywhere from like 5 to 10 dB sometimes, but usually not trying to like hang at that 10 dB gain reduction, closer to 5, because then after that, I'll take that more compressed signal and shove it into my EQ, which my favorite EQ is the Schoeps 73. It's a 1073 emulator, and I just love the sound of it. I love what it does for vocals. I like the shelves. I like the mid-range Q. It's really nice. It also drives really well, and you can go from that compressed signal into an EQ. And then after that EQ, a great thing that I like to do after that is an LA2A, but I'll put it in limiting mode, especially on like really aggressive vocals. I like putting that LA2A into limiting mode, like all the way at the end of the chain. And the other cool thing about the LA2A is that it's a really, really slow compressor limiter. So what you end up doing is like you can feed a lot more extreme types of EQs, EQ moves into that compressor limiter, and it's not going to make it go crazy and sound all wonky and then like just like choke your vocals out. It's just going to, like, especially if you run your gain staging properly, it's going to saturate it in the way that the plugin designers really intended for, because all of your plugins, and especially compressors and EQs in particular, and ones that emulate analog hardware, they all have a bit of a sweet spot. And I think there's a great video from Warren Hewart talking about, and if you've ever heard of him, Warren Hewart, Produce Like a Pro. He's another YouTube guy, a lot like Glenn Fricker, but he's like the super nice guy version of Glenn. And he talked about how plugins that you have that emulate analog gear, they all have a sweet spot, usually around minus 18 dB feeding into them, RMS value. Like usually feeding into them around there is like kind of like the sweet spot where they like to hit. But with those slower compressor limiters, things like the LA2A, etc., you can feed into them a little bit higher, and they're not going to go crazy from it in the same way that that something like a 2500, you know, at max settings would just choke it out and go nuts. So yeah, layer your compressors before your EQ, and then have your nice EQ on there. Any little tight Q cleanups that you have to do, you know, if you got to get in there with like some really narrow band cleanups, you know, resonances from the microphone, resonances just from the room or from the person. Then going into a limiter all the way at the end, and then also at like somewhere along that stage, either before or after the limiter, throwing another stage of de-essing on there just as a final bit to just shave off that top of the things like that can really build up from all that layered compression. Now, again, when you're layering your compressors, you're not trying to get like 10 dB on every compressor. Your very first one, super transparent, 1 to 2, maybe not, I wouldn't even say 3 dB, 1 to 2 dB of compression on the loudest moments. It's really just more of a rider. Then after that, more colored compressor, and you end up with like that, like more of that heavier comp sound, EQ, and then have your final compression limiting stage at the end to taste, I would say. Be careful with if you're using an LA2A. If you go even just a couple notches too far on that peak reduction, it clamps it. I mean, like it's tough on a signal, so be really careful with that. But yeah, throw your limiting at the end, layer your compressors before the EQ, and give that a shot. See how it goes, man. All right, but I do got to get going. I got to get set up for my 7 o'clock, and they're late, but it's okay. So everyone, I hope you had a fantastic time hanging out with me. I had a great time hanging with you guys. I'm sorry that the video was a little bit glitchy. I'm going to try and figure out my internet situation for next time for sure. But everyone, please have the most beautiful middle of your week. I hope that y'all are working hard, or if you're not working hard, I hope you're playing hard. So always play hard. Hit those drums, hit those guitar strings, make those instruments sing like they're supposed to. And I will see you guys on Thursday. Thank you so much for tuning in.